So what are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now?
Oh man, a lot of ESO actually. New patch dropped. Had to get my Sork ready with his. He's now rocking an axe and a dagger with a flame staff on the back bar. So still doing pushing over 105k DPS. So all the stuff is in my grasp. Loving life there. Had to make sure that was on lock. Outside of that, as you can see from my background here, if you're looking live, a lot of grounded. Man, such a fun game. Um, Played this a lot with Zion. It's kind of a backyard survival game. They do a really good job of balancing like the open world survival aspect, like just do what you want, build whatever structures out of things you can find, and defend yourself against giant ants and things like that, critters. But then they added
So fantasy then. It's a
yeah, but it's
okay.
like it's funny because it's still an open beta. Like they launch here in a couple months, I think, officially. But it's been like an open beta for like the last 2 years, and they've just been building and building upon it and adding more. And now that they've actually added like a storyline to it as well, so you can kind of understand like why did you get shrunk? Why are you in this backyard shrunk? Like what's before it was just kind of like this is where you are, and it was fun on its own
Oh,
right.
so it's like the backyard of some house in some fucking
Yeah,
neighborhood
it's
or
like a
something.
huge
Okay.
backyard. It's kind of like if you think Honey I Shrunk the Kids, except you have
Right.
no idea why you're there, and you're just like, I'm surviving, and like
Oh,
what's
that's
going
cool.
on here.
I like the sound of that world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so super fun, and yeah, I've been finding a lot more materials that they've added, and like they have revenge now, where like if you've killed too many of one type of species of critter, they will seek revenge against your base, and like all of a sudden you're getting swarmed with like red
Do you ever
fire
go
ants
into
and
the
stuff.
house?
Oh no, you don't get to enter the
Hmm.
house. It's like strictly the backyard like
Hmm.
environment, you
This is
know.
big. I don't know. I don't know. Well, the ants. That's why. But it's making me think of Sim Ant. And
Sim man.
you start in the backyard, and you slowly. The whole idea is that you expand your colony against the termites, or the red ants. The red ants, rather. Sorry, there are termites. I think too is a problem. But you like you're trying to expand colonies and take out the red ants, and you can slowly work your way into the house out of the backyard, which is pretty cool.
Are you an ant in that one?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
you've
okay.
never heard of this? Sim Ant? Yeah, it was. I mean,
No, I've never heard of
back in the
that.
late '90s. So yeah, the Sim world, they simmed everything.
Ah,
Sim Ant was one of my favorites. That was a really really cool game actually.
that sounds
It's like
like something I would have been like. This is not SimCity. This is not like The Sims. I'm
oh,
done.
it was
There's
so
too
good.
much
I
Sim
fucking loved
stuff.
it. I
Like,
fucking loved it. It was so good because you have the red ants. There's spiders. There's ant lions. There's all sorts of like hazards and stuff. And you got to like find the food, and then you take one of your workers and go fucking like you got to like tag it and kind of, and like
oh,
the
like
workers
real
start
time
to.
strategy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's real
Oh
time. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
yeah,
It's Sim, so
like it.
real time. Yeah. Yeah. That was
Nice.
cool. It was a very cool game, particularly for the time. And it was one of the few things that would run on my fucking dog shit 40 megahertz SX386 IBM PS2 that I had. So it was like that all the more reason. And in Windows too. It was so like basic, I guess, from programming perspective that
Wow.
not only would it run, but it would run in Windows. You didn't even go to
In
DOS.
Windows, not even
Yeah.
DOS. Wow, that's early DOS, man.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was pretty impressive for the time, I suppose. Anyhow,
Wow. Yeah. So other than that, a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So it's funny. Like I beat this game. It was the last game that I beat on the Xbox One before the Series X was released, and I only came back to it because a lot of Assassin's Creed games have been added to Game Pass, and so I came back really just because I thought I had the Atlantis DLC. Really, I only had a Quest starter, so I went back, downloaded it, started doing that. Realized I didn't have the full DLC, so of course I had to go buy the DLC, and of course I'm like playing that as well as just finishing up side quests because the game is so beautiful. My Series X, it's an amazing game. So I'm playing a lot of that, just swinging big dick energy around in ancient Greece, as a demigod. Doesn't get better, much better than that.
word. That is the latest one. I don't know. In fact, there's always a new one.
Oh, there definitely is. So that's the funny thing about it. Like, I loved this game so much that I was pumped for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was a true Series X game coming out. But as graphically amazing and visually like expansive of a game as that is, I just enjoy ancient Greece more than I care about Vikings. You know, so like I just like I'm almost finished with it with Odyssey, and it kind of bums me out because Valhalla's there. I have like the Hero Edition with all the expansions and everything, but it's kind of like, but I'm a Viking. Like I just, I'd rather play Origins, which is like in ancient Egypt or something else. You know. So we'll see. We'll see.
Feel that. I would probably prioritize that kind of European, ancient European settings or Middle Eastern settings more so than a fucking Nordic one too. Yeah. But I like Skyrim.
I mean, it's
though.
good.
I mean, Skyrim is kind of set in that world to some degree, but they don't. It's not. That's just the environment. It's not like obviously the game is completely whatever you want to make it. So there's not. It's not like you're existing in a all Viking minded.
But that's the thing though. Like with Odyssey, whenever I go to a new place, it's kind of like Zeus's triathlon, or it's kind of like places that I can reference or think about that I can tie to places I've actually heard of, or just for me personally, I don't know anything about Vikings other than seen on TV and like random shows.
Maybe this is your incentive to learn some history, Jay.
Right there, you
go. Don't just play the game. Have it make you embrace the fact that it can make you a better person too.
That's what it is. Yeah, but that's pretty much it, man. What about you? What are you jamming on these days?
Well, it's been a while since we recorded, so there's actually been quite a bit. The first thing I have here is it was a pretty big happy fucking birthday to me because there were 2 hot quest drops on August 18th, which is my day of birth, and the first was the Japan DLC for Real VR Fishing, so new location entirely. And they dropped 8 of what I'm guessing will be 16 new fishing spots. And it's fishing. The location is beautiful. It's great. I recommend you start fishing, Jay. I actually took it home. I just got back from... I flew out of Cleveland. I went back to Buffalo for the Titans game on the Monday Nighter. And the flights out of Buffalo were all fucked up. So I just drove down, got a rental, drove down to Cleveland, flew out of Cleveland on Thursday. So I hung out with my uncle a bit for a couple days. And I brought my headset, and he never fucked with that, of course. So I got him into it, and it was so funny. He was so resistant to it. He's such a curmudgeon motherfucker. He was like, he's like buzzing around the house doing things, and I'm like, fuck, you gotta try putt-putt. You gotta try putt-putt, and I kept hammering on. He's like, I gotta finish laundry, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And I was like, finally got him into it, and like, it's so funny to watch someone try that for the first time. Especially that's not already like games, necessarily modern game savvy. And because they put it on, and like the questions he's like asking these questions about how to get going, and like I'm trying to show him the Guardian, and actually got it to work. I couldn't get to work when I was doing this with my grandma, but I was able to get the feed to pipe to my phone so I could watch what he would see, and it made the tutorial aspect of it a little easier. But like first put it on, and then like. I'm trying to explain, like, you just got to, like, to set the floor, you just touch the floor. He's like, what do you mean? Like, with that control, you literally just bend down and touch the floor, and it does it. He's like, holy shit, okay. And he does it, and then to do the boundary, I'm, like, explaining to him, like, you just paint on the ground, and, like, he can instantly do that. Like, again, no ability, no pre-existing anything for this kind of technology, and he's just immediately able to do it. And he's like, you can just tell. I can't even see his eyes; his face is covered, but I can tell he is like immediately like, "Holy shit, this is wild!" So he does that, and I put him into fucking tourist trap, and he's fucking putt-putting, and he's figuring out the physics, and he's like, first he was kind of like he was all choked up and kind of doing it funny. I was like, you can hold it like a golf putter. He's like, okay, and he does it. And he's like, oh yeah, that is better, and he's like, figure out the physics and shit. And it was just so funny to watch him. It's so interesting, I guess, maybe not even funny, to just watch someone slowly, or not even slowly, ever so quickly, like acclimate and integrate with that in the world. He's like, yeah, I fucking showed him the flying thing, and immediately he's like, whoa. He's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, that's too crazy. He's like, that gave me vertigo. That was fucking wild. And he's fucking, like, whatever. So he's putt-putt, and then I got him into fishing, and I had him do the roller coaster thing, do the T-Rex epic roller coaster thing to ride that.
Nice.
And I'm like, it's like, especially because he like demonstrated like a little bit of that wasn't good with the flying in golf. So I was like, I was telling him like the roller coaster thing could definitely get you if you whatever. He's like, no, I mean, he's first car fucking roll at Cedar Point kind of guy. So he's like, fuck it, I'll be fine, And he does. He was totally fine with that. So it was just, I think maybe just the shock. Maybe of being able to fly up like that in golf, that not so much like the nausea thing that some people can have, Yeah. So yeah, it was so funny. So we play that. He plays it for a couple hours. He ends up fishing for like fucking an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we go to dinner the next night with a couple of friends of his. And in the parking lot afterward, he's telling the story to them about it, and like he's just so excited. He's like, "Oh my god, it's fucking incredible!" Like, "Oh no, like it's like immediately fucking." Converting people and making them fucking influencing spheres, and so he's definitely ordering one, and he's definitely gonna fucking be playing putt for sure. And it was pretty cool to drop that on him. Anyways, so they had the fishing thing, so he was doing some of that, and then also on the 18th, Red Matter 2 was dropped from Vertical Robot. And I finished the first one of this game very early in my Quest days. This was already out when I got my Quest, and it was stupendous. And that opinion's totally backed up by a litany of awards it won and stuff. And it's set in space. It's the image behind me. It's set in space, and it's the world where it's like the Soviet Union won the Cold War, and on Earth, obviously, in our timeline, and the story takes place like way in the future in that reality. So like the Soviet Union has remained in power and then proliferates into space. And the first one took place on this Soviet controlled planet that something fucked up on, and they just disappeared. And you were an American cosmonaut exploring that vacated but something's fucked up going on at planet. So you're kind of like there's like some weird like apparitional ghostly kind of stuff going on maybe, but you're not sure, and you're also like there. I think it's kind of like an espionage, like you're there, like the reason you were there is for espionage purposes, but what you're experiencing that's not what happens, you know what I mean? So that was the first game. It was very good, played it all through, it was fucking great. And the sequel, it's bigger, badder, and I cannot believe how incredible it looks on the Quest. Like, I didn't know the Quest was capable of this, and there's a reason for that I found out with the release of this, and that it kind of bums me out, but I'll get to that. So yeah, it's a first person in a spacesuit, and it's mostly puzzle solving and puzzle and problem solving shit, but it does later work in some shooting bullshit way more than I would prefer actually in this version. It was not in the first one. The first one didn't have. It was all just, I mean, you have, like, this is the one I think maybe you recall me talking about it, like, it does an amazing job of, like, the controller that you have in real life, those controllers, the in-game, like, visual of those and the way you interact with those controllers is so well translated, like the claws and stuff, it looks like it could be on, like, it could be, what you feel in your hands could be what you see on screen. Whereas normally you're doing some level of, like, it's an interpretation of hands, So it just does a really cool job because you're in a spacesuit of making that feel good and real and right, So that's one really cool aspect of it. And the story is great. You're traveling all around the solar system in this case, not just the one planet. And it's this dystopian future deal. And there's not really, it was odd to me and kind of surprising. That first one was so predicated on spooky shit and like kind of some ghost stuff going on. This one's doesn't really have that. It bummed me out a little bit in that regard because I liked that aspect of the story. It's much more about just some really shitty thing. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. There is like a sci-fi, I guess, it's more of a sci-fi thing than a ghost story. It's more of like this space, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparable movie I've seen or something. But yeah, there's like this entity kind of that you're dealing with. But yeah, it feels like it's something that was cooked up in a lab, or is just you would just find on another planet, as opposed to like this otherworldly or other apparitional type entity, if that makes sense. I don't know. Whatever the case. And weird first thing for this one, dude. This one made me nauseous. Like the smooth movement. Like that's never happened. the smooth movement because you're in a spacesuit, so you can like fly around and hover and stuff. And like, you know, I didn't even really get that. That's what was happening to me. Like that's how unfrequently it's happened to me. I didn't even understand that's what it was. Like I thought I was just feeling kind of shitty, you know. And I played it for a few play sessions, and every time I come out of it, I'm like, man, I don't feel good. And you know, like, eventually the dipshit in me, like, I do isolate the variable. I'm like, okay. And I just go in and I change it to the teleport movement, and that never happened again. So that's absolutely what it was. But, yeah, it was weird to me that, because like I said, that does not happen. I mean, I fly around and fucking walk about, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it is very smooth. Like, the movement is very smooth. Maybe that's what it is. Something about
Your
it.
brain is like, this is happening.
Yeah. Something going on there. So that was interesting to me. And I've actually seen... seen stuff on the internet, on Twitter and shit, and then the Rough Talk guys covered this game, and they mentioned that it was something that was being reported as a thing too. So there's something about the development of this game that's a little different with the movement, and it's conjuring that in people a little more often than is normally the case. So that's an interesting thing. I would love to know the science of that, like why this game, and I would just, I don't know. Not sure. Like Green Hell also is another one where you move smooth too, and like it doesn't happen to me there. I'm not sure what's up with that. Anyhow, put the shit out of it, and I beat it, and it's maybe 10-ish hours of gameplay, I would say, and that seems to be the prevailing estimate for most people too. And so it's the best looking Quest game to date. Like there's no argument whatsoever. And this also came from the Rough Talk pod. I guess this is one of, if not the first game that didn't have to be compatible, like from the Facebook store or Oculus store requirements or whatever. This is the first one that didn't need to be compatible with the Quest 1, and that's why.
Oh,
so
really?
All the games to date have had to be compatible with the Quest 1, and that's why they haven't been able to embrace the graphical capability of the two in the way that it should be, you know? Which, how fucked up is that? Like, that is a real bummer, dude, you know, that they're expecting
going forward...
Should be. Yeah, should
be good game.
Should be better looking stuff, so...
Not like the games we've seen are bad, like...
Right. Well, yeah, usually it doesn't even... Yeah, that's like the thing. I think that's partly why, like Walkabout, like, they don't even... They don't even attempt realism. It's like they embrace the polygonal... whatever, of the visual, and I don't mind that at all. Especially for me, it is so much more about the experience than the visual. So for me personally, it's particularly unimportant. But I understand the graphics are important to a lot of people, and it's nice that they can do this.
Dude, if they made that with more realism, that'd be great.
The putt-putt game, that would be wild. I don't know. Like I kind of feel like
next level though.
I kind of feel like that game would suffer from that. I think part of the charm of that game is kind of like the rinky-dink child putt-putt course feel to everything, I kind of like that. But, yeah, who knows?
Both. I think you'd have a little more realism and still keep that. I think you can make
Perhaps. I don't know. I have zero criticisms for them. The new one of those, I think, drops in 5... I think it's the 29th, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea course drops. So next, whatever the hell that times out to be, next Thursday. They're usually Thursdays, I think, so that makes sense. Next Thursday. Looking forward to that. This one, dude, like, there's... I posted some of the pictures and shit so you can see it on our socials, but, like, it really becomes apparent the difference out in space. Like, in the base is cool, too, and you can see a little bit of an aesthetic difference, but when you're out in space, there's some visuals, like, where you're on this... Early in the game, where you're on this... after your ship lands on the base you need to get to, or whatever it is, and you're out there on the deck and you can see the planet, and there's like a asteroid belt up in the air and then another planet down below. It fucking looks unbelievable. So good. So good. So yeah, great looking game. The puzzles, I kind of actually was a little... The puzzles were maybe mildly challenging at times, but most generally not. Like, there was one early on that was probably more of me just trying to figure out things about the game than actual difficulty within the puzzle itself. But I think they kind of, again, it's just like Subnautica. It's like I had that long fucking diatribe about Subnautica. Like, they tried to dumb it down. I think they tried to make it stupider. I really and more easily received by a wider. And so pathetic that I don't know that is required. Or that game developers think that that's requisite for a game to reach a wider audience. It makes me sad about humanity. And yeah, and the shooter mechanics, I mean, oh god, they work fine, but like it's just never something that I want in a game like this. I just don't. It's it's like it's some of those like mini game Nintendo game things. It's like you're adding something, and like you're probably just making the rest of the stuff suffer by having that in there. I understand that maybe you have a more limitless capability with the modern game than you did with those old games, but it didn't need it, and I wish they'd have spent more time on the exploration and the puzzles and stuff than that aspect of it, because it was just, I don't know, very cookie cutter shooting stuff. But either way, it's only $29.99, $30. It's not like I expected this game to be a $40 release, and for $30, I think it's definitely worth the money. So pretty cool. And then there's another one that I dinked with, Retropolis, something like that. $12.99 in the store, so pretty inexpensive, and the reviews are pretty good. And it's like this very small developer that kind of cares about what they're doing. I think it's very visible. They care. Just 3 guys, I think. And it's a mildly comedic take on the detective noir game world. And it's the actual story world is one where robots have replaced humanity, but are fixated on maintaining what the algorithm perceives as human. So that's where like the trope 40 crime noir thing comes from. They think that this is like, I don't know, something like this represents whatever, like they, some movie slipped into the algorithm from the 40s or something, or probably the 60s, 70s, I guess, portraying the 40s, and they think this is how humanity should be. So this is the world they're proliferating in, and it's relatively comedic in that regard, and pretty good. But I'd say the actual gameplay, it's kind of short. It's not particularly challenging again on the puzzle front, but it is cute and still engaging. And for $12.99, I mean, it's fucking very reasonable buy, I think, if you just want, a few hours, something to kill a few hours while you're waiting for something to fucking drop, something else to drop. And the last couple things are emulation joints. I fucking tagged you in it, man. But yeah, I finally got to play Bonk's Adventure with some level of
first of all, why? Like, come at me with why.
I played it. It was on the flight to Buffalo for the game, so it was on my new emulator, and I clocked that that it had a TurboGrafx 16. It actually runs on RetroArch. It runs on RetroArch, so. Okay. It had the what are they, cores they're called for that. So I was like, ooh, I can play all those fucking games I've been downloading and wanting to, that for some reason my laptop shitted out on. So I saw that when I fired up and started playing it. And yeah, dude, it's so good. The graphics are so good for that era, and the mechanics with him are really cool and fun with the head thing, and like he uses it as a tool in all these ways, and like the interaction with the enemies, like all varied, all good sprite art, all interesting. The boss battle at the end of the first level, I only played through the first level, but are all 3. It's like, I think like kind of Mario-esque in like a 1-2-1 or 1-1 1-2 1-3 kind of situation. Bosses in 1-3, I think is how it works. And yeah, the boss battle was fucking awesome and fun. And I mean, just like we saw the boss artwork in the ad, and we pointed out how great it looks. They look great in motion too, like really, really good. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not part of what we're doing, but it's a really fucking fun game. And I think it would be a great tangent episode. I don't know what we call that, instead of random rags, random fucking carts or something. I don't know, but like that, I think it will be a really, really fun playthrough to do and talk about. Yeah, I mean, right up there, as far as like action platformers from that era go, I mean, it's in the Sonic and Mario world, I think, as far as like likability of the character and the personality they gave that character in the game and the story world. Like it's not, there's nothing cookie cutter about any aspect of it. Every aspect, every step of it felt original to me and well done and cared about, and it all felt good. The control, everything felt good. It was really well done, I thought. So that is my soapbox on Bonk's Adventure. And then last but not least, I copped the new Tecmo Super Bowl for both NES and Genesis. And I was texting you and Jab about this. When I was like, that was like the whole impetus. Like I found out my GPXD handheld emulator was bricked for some reason when I was flying to New York right before the season started, and like my whole part of my ritual is playing Tecmo Super Bowl while I'm flying to and fro these places for the games. So when I found out my XD was bricked, I was like freaking out. I was like, I just gotta get a new one. Like I did a bunch of YouTube tutorials and tried to unbrick it, but I couldn't. Nothing was working. So I was like, I gotta get a new one. So I bought this Abernick thing off Amazon after a whole shit ton of googling around for options on handheld emulators, and this one's pretty good. It's like I said, it's Linux based as opposed to Android, which the XD was Android. So it's not like, it doesn't like the XD, and I never use any of this anyways, but the XD, because it runs on Android, you download apps, you could watch Netflix on, do whatever you want. I never used it for that purpose, but that option at least existed. With this, it's just an emulator, and it has like it runs off RetroArch, so it has that going on, and it also has this, I forget what the name of it is, but it has like this other front end thing built out of it. So it has like this really clean looking, very snazzy menu screen that allows you to go through all the different game systems. But that's all it does. You can't do anything else on it. So, and like I said, I don't want that out of my machine anyways. This is like half the price of an XD. Anyhow, it was $160 on Amazon. So I think that's very fair. But the screen's bigger. Like the control, it all feels great. It looks great. It's the 351 MP, I think, is the model, which is I think it's 640 by 480 is the resolution on the thing. So that's like twice the resolution we used to get for these games. So everything looks great, and it plays. It can run up through Gen 1, I think. I think it's 64. It might. Does it do GameCube? It definitely does 64 in PlayStation 1. It might go one more too, like GameCube and PS2, but I'm not sure offhand. Like I don't really want to emulate those anyway. So yeah, I can't even think offhand if it does. But yeah, all the arcade stuff you want, like all that shit, and it comes preloaded with a shit ton of stuff too, which is cool. So yeah, I would say whatever. But so yeah, I've been playing on that. So I went to techbowl.org to download the new one, and they didn't have the one that they released wasn't out yet. So they have the little forum on the right hand side of their website, and it's where people post about their modded versions. And the one that seemed to have the most traction for the NES is this S Blue Man Tecmo is the person's name, and they got a Twitter account and stuff too, so you can find their website, and I'll put that in the show notes. But he's done a ton of quality of life improvements to it. He moved the PATs back to where they're actually at now instead of, I can't believe no one's made a 2-point conversion option yet. It's the one thing that it seems very doable to me, that you're just running a play from the 2. I'm surprised that no one's gotten to that yet, but he did move the kick back to where it's supposed to be and kind of change the kicky mechanics too. And yeah, there's a lot of just little quality of life improvements, updated rosters, of course. And I'll be doing my weekly Road to the Super Bowl Quest live streams throughout the season. I actually haven't gotten around to the Dolphins one this week because life and shit. But I'm probably going to do it in between editing here. But yeah, so I'll be doing that every Wednesday probably. And I was fucking around, one other little anecdote about this. I was fucking around with him on Twitter, and he was talking about dropping the new updated rosters on the 8th or something like that. And I was like, and this was after the Rams game where the Bills beat the shit out of the Rams. So I was like, I assume this new update will have Baby Jesus at all hundos, right? As far as his attributes go. And he's like, ha ha ha. And then a day or two later, he fucking direct tweets me, and he's like, with a link, he's like, he made a mod for me specifically with all 100s for Baby Jesus, and he's of course incredible in the game as a result, but it's too much of a, he's too good. I'll be in the pocket trying to wait for a receiver to get open and just run out of bounds or something, or run into a defensive player because I'm running so fucking fast that I can't even control the dude. So yeah, he's fucking crazy good, but pretty fun and pretty cool of him. So yeah, he's pretty good about engagement and shit. And I'm sure if you had feedback or whatever, he'd probably be all about it. And it seemed to be the one that people are most into right now as far as the people modding these. So
That
yeah,
is
highly
impressive.
recommend it. Really good. There's a hard type version too. I'll text you guys about where he added new music to the game, and there's even more functionality differences in that including the AI. I'm pretty sure. I can see a difference in the way the game's playing, so it's a little, because the natural arc of the AI in Tecmo Super Bowl is kind of throughout the season the game gets harder, and it's like Tecmo hard, so it's like it's not really any harder, it's just like more stupid shit happens, you know what I mean? So, and that just gets progressively worse throughout the season. By the end of the season, I'm usually to the point by week 17 in the playoffs where like there's like 2 of the 8 plays that I can run, they're picking it half the time, and you got to have a quick, an easy hot read because they're picking your plays constantly, and like I end up running with Josh Allen more because they're fucking all the receivers are always covered, like it's just like little dumb shit like that, as opposed to, of course, there's only so much variance that game can possibly introduce as far as challenge goes, so whatever. But this one, I think he's balanced that a little bit more and made it a little more uniform throughout and playable, essentially. So yeah, highly recommend that version, the hard type version.